Excel 2016, Module 7, pages 390 through 396. Okay, go ahead and open up your book to page 390 and read about planning an Excel application. You're going to open and review the winter workbook. So go to your data files, open winter, and do your file save as F12 and name it winter activities. Okay? Now go to your documentation sheet, you know the drill. Get your name in there, get the date in there. And then you need to take a look and kind of review the receipt and the registration data. Kind of look through so you get an idea of what we're doing. Okay? All right, flip to page 392 and read about naming cells and ranges. This is something incredibly useful, so please make sure you read this information before we move on to page 393. Using the name box to create defined names. To create defined names for the input area using the name box, step number 1, select cell E11. So here's E11. Check my name box, make sure I'm in the right cell because we're going to name this cell, and if you get off a cell on this, you're going to be in big trouble because you're going to use these names in formulas. So you have to be absolutely certain that you are on the correct cell. All right, so we went to cell E11 and it says click the name box, just like that. Okay, so now the cell reference for the active cell E11 is selected. See how it's in reverse video in blue, right there. See it? So it's selected. Make sure it's selected because we're going to replace it. And because you just read all about naming cells, you know the rules, right? No spaces. So type the name activity fee. Always check your spelling. Okay, so you type in activity fee and make sure it's spelled correctly and you don't have any spaces and you press your enter key. Okay, so now cell E11 now has a name and we've named it activity fee. All right, select cell E12. First thing I always do is flick my eyes up to that name box and make 1000% sure that I am on E12 and I am not misnaming a cell. We're going to go back up to our name box, same thing, and we're going to name this Rockport Disc, D-I-S-C, which stands for discount. Again, stop, check your spelling, and make sure that you didn't put any spaces in, and when you have it correct, press your enter key. Okay? Now, select the range D2 to F8. All right, so here's D. You want D2 to F8. D2 to F8. Step number 5. Click the name box and type youth info. Okay, I'm going to check it. You saw I missed my capital, went back and got it. Youth info, press your enter key when it's correct. So now we just named an entire range. Step number 6, select the range A40 to F40. So here's A, let's go find 40. So A40 to F40, this is the transfer area. And we're going to go to the name box, and that's exactly what we're going to name it, is transfer area. Okay, got that? If you're not quite caught up, just pause the video, catch up. It might be a good time to reach up and hit save. And then we're going to turn to page 394. Select cell E33. Here's E. And here is 33. This one's tricky because there's no grid lines. So flick those eyes up to that name box every time and make sure you've got the right cell. All right, so in the name box, we're going to name E33 Rec Activity Fee with no spaces and no typos. Rec Activity Fee. And then when you have it correct, press your enter key. Now cell E34. And we are going to name this Rec Rockport Disc for, again, disc is for discount. So Rec Rockport Disc. And then press your enter key. Okay, so we just went through, we named some cells and we named some ranges. On page 394, read about selecting cells and ranges by their defined names. So select cells and ranges with the name box. click the name box arrow. Okay, right there. You're going to see the list of defined names in the workbook. 6 names should appear in your list. You can just stop right now and count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 6. If you don't have 6, you need to go back and figure out what you're missing. And if you have more than 6, you really need to figure out what the problem is. Okay? If the names are longer than the name box, you can make the name box wider so that the full names are visible. Okay? So what we're going to do right now, press your escape key. That's just going to close up that box. On the right side of the name box, drag the sizing handle. Do you see it? It's actually right there. It's very hard to see. It's like these 3 little dots. Okay, and we're just going to, drag it over to make it big enough so that we can fully see the names when they appear up here. Okay, again, if the sizing handle is these 3 little dots in the middle, and that's all you have to do is pull that over and make it bigger. All right, got that part done? Now you can click on your name box and just look at your names again and make sure you can see them all and you can read them all and the whole things are displayed. And if they aren't, just, adjust your size. If you think you made it too big, you can also tighten it up a little bit, however you want to do it. Step number 5, click activity fee. All right, so we're going to hit that down pointing arrow. We're going to click on activity fee and you're going to see that it pops right up here and it makes this cell that we named activity fee, which used to be E11, the active cell. Click the name box arrow and then click Youth Info. Okay. The range D2 to F8 is selected because that's what we named that entire range. All right, repeat step 6 and go through each name cell. What you want to do is you want to stop right now. It'd be really easy just to blow this off. You should pause the video. Go back and ensure that the name that you provided corresponds to the correct cell that they told you to use. Okay, so on the top of page 395, you need to read about creating defined names by selection. For whatever reason, this really gives my students fits, so please make sure you read that and go through this one pretty carefully. And you'll notice there's like yellow boxes around some of the instructions, which is always a warning that you got to be really careful when you're doing this part, okay? So make sure you understand what you're doing and why you're doing it before you start to do this one. So the first thing we're going to do is we have to be really careful with the range in here, which is why this is in yellow. So we need A3. So the first thing I want you to do is I just want you to click on cell A3 and ensure that the name box is A3, because if you pick up A2, it's not going to work. So we want A3 through B12. So make sure you have A3 through B12 and nothing else. Okay, on the ribbon, click your Formulas tab. On your Formulas tab in the Defined Names group, you need to click Create from Selection right there. And that's going to open your Create from Selection dialog box. In your Create from Selection dialog box, make sure only the left column checkbox contains a check mark. So we need to take that off a top row or anything else that you have selected in your computer. Make sure it only says left column, okay? The labels in the left column will be used to create the defined names. Take a look at figure 7-4 and compare it against your Create Names from Selection dialog box to ensure that it's the same. Step number 5, click the OK button. Each cell in the range B3 through B12 is named based on its corresponding label in column A. For example, cell B3 is named Registration. Okay, so here's B3. It's registration date. Do you see it? Now, you can hit this name box, and you're going to see all of these. So again, click right here in Youth Name, Activity, Grade, Shirt Size, Rockport Resident, Guardian. Okay, and you can sit here and click through and see that they named the cell on the right column based upon the value that was in the left column. Remember how we selected that left column button? That's what we were telling it. So we selected all of this, and then we said name it based on what's in the left column. So therefore, everything in the right column is now named what's in the corresponding cell in the left column. Do you see that? Okay, make sure that you have those right, and if not, you may need to try that one again. All right, let's take a look at and read about editing and deleting defined names at the bottom of page 395. Make sure you read that. And when you're finished, flip over to page 396 to edit and delete defined names with the Name Manager dialog box. Step number 1. On the Formula tab, right there, that's where we are. In the Define Names group, right there, click the Name Manager button, the big one. See it right there on the left-hand side? Name Manager. Now it's going to open your Name Manager dialog box, and it's going to list 16 defined names that we named in this workbook. Okay, step number 2. Click the Rec Activity Fee. Rec Activity Fee, right there. By the way, they are in alphabetical order, which makes it a lot easier to find. So here's our Rec Activity Fee. Now, click the Edit button. The Edit button is at the top. Do you see it right there? It's that middle button. Go ahead and click Edit. And that's going to open your Edit Name dialog box. You can change the name and its reference cell or range in this dialog box. Step number 3. We're going to just change the name, and it's already selected. If you clicked on something and yours isn't selected, just select the name. Type receipt fee. Remember, no spaces, and always stop and check your spelling, because wouldn't that be embarrassing to put it out with a big old typo in there? When you get finished with that, go ahead and click OK. Repeat steps 2 and 3 to rename the Rockport Disc defined name as Receipt Discount. Okay, so we need to find Rockport Disc. Okay, and again, if mine are truncated, I can't see it all, we're going to come right up here on this border and just going to pull it across so I can see the whole thing. So what was I looking for? Rockport Disc. Right there, Rockport Disc. Edit, and change the name to Receipt Disc. And then you're going to stop. Then you're going to check your spelling. You're going to make sure you don't have any spaces. And when it's all good, you're going to hit OK. Step number 5. Click Transfer Area. That's right there. And then click the Delete button. Right there. A dialog box opens to confirm that you want to delete the selected defined name. Click the OK button, and the name is removed from the list. Step number 7. Repeat steps 5 and 6 to delete youth info. You may have to scroll down to see it all. You have a slider bar, and you also have a sizing box right here, okay, so that you can make it bigger if you want to. So we want to get rid of youth info. Make sure you get youth info and not youth name. And we have youth info, and we're going to click delete, and we're going to hit OK. And then we're going to hit close. Save your file, and you're ready to move on to the next video.